Alright, I'm back again with Star Wars Visions. Now this is episode 5 and 6. Now I'm gonna try and remember names because sometimes I just be using pronouns because I didn't told y'all before on this channel. I'm not good with remembering names. So anyways, so episode 5. Now episode 5, this episode was really good. Like I thought the first episode was like packed with action and like on the edge of dying the seat. But this one was like I was like but anyway, so this one was good. So I want to say the main character, her name was Cara, adorable little girl. Now her father was actually a sabersmith, and this is like apparently like a long time, like apparently generations after the Jedi Order is gone, like gone, like dead and gone. And basically, so she was with her father, who she had just brought some. Well, he was making some, some lightsabers, and he was making them I guess like in different ways. And so she takes out one and she like powers it up, and it's like clear, it's like colorless or whatever. She's like, well, I don't understand why mine is colorless. And she was like, playing with her little droid or whatever, like practicing or whatever. Did not know that the force was that strong with that young girl, but anyways, it was. So she was saying like, oh, why is mine colorless, Dad? And he was like, oh, don't worry, like sometimes the color reflects the basically I want to say the psyche. I don't know why I keep referring to that word, but just bear with me. The psyche, or where you are with the dark side, light side for that particular person that's holding it. But hers was colorless, and so I feel like that meant that she might have been like really good with the dark side. Well, not the dark side, but she was really good with the force, or that she would be very powerful with the force. Because I'm like, colorless, come on now. Anyway, so she was like, oh, okay, yeah. And he was talking about, oh, well, as you get older and you get more powerful, things will change, blah blah blah. And like I said, I'm like, I think she's already like powerful with the force. What are you talking about? As she gets older. Anyways, so well, basically some guys were sent to her father, because they found out that he was, making these lightsabers for Jedi out there. And so she was like, oh God, there's some guys out there. And he basically bundles them all up and he goes, take these to the Mongrave. And so she was like, okay, you sure, Dad? He's like, yeah. And he's like hugging her like this was the last time he's gonna see her. I'm like, And so she was like, why are you hugging me like this is the last time you're gonna see me? He's like, oh, don't worry, I love you, goodbye. And so she goes, and then they basically like beat him up and take him. She's like driving. I mean, like not only is she good with the force, but this girl knows how to fight. She's got combat experience. She's like driving on the ice, and she like flips over and like doing all this. And then like she even got off of like her vehicle and like baseball swing knocked the other guy out. And she could have, like I said, she could have totally like sliced him in half, but she intentionally just took out his vehicle so he couldn't follow her. So she gets into Mongrave, who she already knew. Now meanwhile, there's these Jedis that had came. And they were talking about, well, we heard that there was some person who was like sending out like a signal or whatever to gather as many Jedis as they could. So we came here because we were interested, and we're trying to be on guard because we don't know if it's a real call. It could be a Sith trying to attract Jedi to take out Jedi. We don't know yet, but we gotta wait till the Mangrave comes. And so there was this one young man, and I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, his name was Ethan. And so he was like, this is interesting. So there was like a robot there, and it was like, oh, we've never seen like a, we want our own lightsaber or whatever. So he shows them a lightsaber, and notice something. I think if I remember correctly, Ethan was the only one who picked up the lightsaber and he powered it on, and his was, I think it was blue or green, one of the two. He was the only one who powered it on. Notice that the others didn't. I think they had touched it, but they didn't power it on. And so at first I didn't catch that, but I did go back and watch that episode, or like watch part of it, and I noticed that. And so I don't know, and I was like, oh. And then she comes there, she like, has all the lightsabers. She's like, my dad. And then that's when like the guy inside of the robot comes out and reveals himself as Margrave, Jury, I think was his name. And so she was like, I hate to tell you this, but they took my father, and you have to help me. Like these are the last ones I was able to gather for all of y'all. And so he comes out of there, and so he was like, oh, I just had like, and I think he did let slip a little bit that like there were some imposters who were basically killing Jedi and taking the place as them, like Sith Lords basically. So she like, gives them like the lightsabers. They all pick up their own. They literally all get around both Ethan and Cara. He was saying, I think that was just when he was saying that, and they all look at him like it's like that OMG moment. It was like that, kind of like that moment when you know that you done goofed, and they all just like looked at them and they like powered up their lightsabers and they were all red.
何か手違いがあったようだが、あとは辺境博が姿を現すのを待つのみ。
And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was like, so you mean to tell me out of all of them, the only person who wasn't a Sith Lord was Ethan? I was like, wow, that messed me up, like for real. I was like, they about to die. They about to die for real. If they don't fight, like, I don't know what, they're going to die. And she was looking around like, what's going on here? And he's like, oh my God. And I was like, y'all messed up. Y'all done goofed. Y'all in trouble. And then they start fighting. And then the Margrave takes out like 3 of them, like by himself. And then Cara takes out 1, well, for the most part. Or I think 2. Ethan was struggling. That's all I'm saying. No, no shade to him. Ethan was struggling. And then it gets down to, I forgot what the other, I think his name was Homa or something like that. He basically had got corrupted by the others, by I guess spending so much time, around the other people. He got corrupted. And he was like, the Margrave was like, stop, this isn't you. And then his lightsaber went from like, I think red to purple or something like that. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. My bad. I got corrupted. And I'm like, what? That didn't make sense to me. But it did at the same time. So I was like, okay, so in this episode, they explored the idea, the theory that you're like, depending on what kind of, I guess, energy you're putting out there, that's what color your lightsaber will be. So the fact that, of course, when Ethan powered his up and it was green, he was obviously not on the dark side. He was like a legit either Padawan or Jedi that, was on, the good side. But when they all powered theirs up, it was red. Like this thing that I got on right now. And that proved that they were all evil. And I was like, oh my God. Like I said, I can't get over that moment where they powered up and they were all red. And I was like, that's bad. And he even explained to make it worse that like he was saying that he had sent like some like people to infiltrate. And he had heard that they were like basically Sith Lords going out killing Jedis and impersonating them to get to him. And that's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. And he had to even do some impersonating and some, incognito himself, just to like figure out which ones was it that was doing the impersonating. And I was like, that really sucks. So that means that there's like some Jedis out there that legit died because of these people. But anyways, he was like, look, we're trying to start this thing back up again, and we're trying to get something together. She was like, well, I'm glad you're okay, but I need you to help me go get my dad back. And so he was like, don't worry, I'm gonna help you get your dad back. And I thought that was cute. He like helped them or whatever. And so they had 2 people. They had like the other guy and Ethan, and they had Cara with them, which they were definitely gonna need. And he was like, don't worry, we're gonna help you get your dad back. And I was like, well, that's a good way to end the episode. Like, instead of you making me sad because I didn't know if her dad was gonna be alive or if they were gonna rescue him or not. But anyways, so episode 6. This episode was so cute and so sad. It was so cute and so sad at the same time. But anyway, so there's a little robot, a little droid named TOB1, Toby, go figure, with basically his master, you might as well. I think his name was Mitaka. But anyway, so Mitaka was actually a Jedi, and he didn't tell him that because, of course, of the obvious reasons. He was actually armless, and so he was there with Toby because they were basically trying to terraform the planet and bring back life to the planet and grow plants and all that kind of good stuff. And so Toby is talking about like I have dreams of becoming like a Jedi Knight. And he was like dreaming about telling him about his dream and how he's like running around jumping off of I used to call them AT-ATs. I don't know if that's the actual name for them, but basically like the little 2-legged walker robots, and like destroying them and whatnot. And so, his master was like, listen, in order for you to even have, to be, first you gotta, to be a Jedi, first you got to have a lightsaber. And in order to have a lightsaber, you gotta have a kyber crystal. And so he was like, oh, well, where are those? And he was like, nowhere to be found, basically. And so he looks for them. Of course, he didn't find one. And so then, his master told him, stay out of the basement. Stay out of the basement, okay? What does this boy do? Goes to the basement. Like, him, like I said, he become really, really, I guess, rambunctious about his dreams of becoming a Jedi. And some people were saying, like I said, I look at reviews on, YouTube as well about, these different, shows. And some people were comparing him to, like Pinocchio, like, I want to be a real boy. But anyways, and I did kind of see that for the most part. But anyways, so he goes, he goes to the basement. And he accidentally, when he powered up the ship, I guess it was kind of like when, somebody's incognito or they on the run and they use a cell phone and it bings a cell phone tower. It basically did that to like one of like, I don't know if he was like a Sith Lord, but he was basically somebody from the dark side. And he was like, oh, we've got somebody here on this planet. And this guy comes down, and so his master was like, "Oh, you done messed up for real." And he was like, "I'm sorry." He even like came and hugged him. He was like, "I'm sorry, like I gotta hide you now." And he was like, "You're a Jedi," because he saw him like using the Force and all that kind of stuff. He was like, "Yes, I am," or at least it was. He was like, "Here, take this," and so he gives him the little lightsaber, and he was like, "But where are you going?" And he's like, "Don't worry." And he just powers him down and hides him in that spot. Then when some time passes, he finds out that this guy then killed his master. And I was like, that was like a teardrop moment. I was like, and he was so sad. He sees like he sees a little grave, and I was like, dang, that is so sad. And so he starts like doing basically what him and his master went to that planet to do, which was to bring it back to life, grow plants and all that kind of stuff to terraform. And so he like cleans up the lab because the guy messed up the lab too. And I was like, okay, first you killed him, then you messed up the lab. Oh, he's got to go. Anyway, so he like cleans up the lab, and then he basically has all this whole planet, this little planet they were on, trying to terraform and bring life back. He got it all back up and running. And then this thing came back again for round 2. And then I think it was something about he realized that he was powered by a kyber crystal, so he didn't need to have one. He didn't look for one. It was in him the whole time. And then he basically takes a lightsaber and he starts like fighting, and he lost the arm, and I was like, well, dang. And then he was fighting, and he had like the little robots or whatever. Those little robots were cute, by the way. And so he's like fighting, and then he's like thinking about like his master and all that kind of stuff, and he defeats this guy. And I just thought the whole like little battle was cute, and it was it was legit. I was like, okay, come on now. So he defeats this thing, and after he defeats him, he was like, you know what, Master would want me to, continue his legacy. So he gets on the ship, and he decides to basically go, to other planets, see where else out there needed terraforming or help bringing life back, and to continue his legacy, which was, the best thing he could do for him. And I thought that was very, very heartwarming. I was like, oh, it's so heartwarming and cute. But anyways, so y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. I really like both of these episodes were really good, especially that other one. God, that was so good. But anyways, tell me what y'all think in the comments below, okay?